Let me read to you the Gospel passage from Matthew chapter 11, verse 25 to 30, as a possible Gospel passage for Indigenous Peoples Sunday, which is celebrated in Australia on the first Sunday of July. For this celebration each year, the entrance antiphon, the collect and the readings are those of the Sunday determined by the bishops of the country on which this celebration falls. So, let us take as our Gospel Matthew chapter 11, verse 25 to 30. St. Matthew writes, "At that time Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this was your good pleasure. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." That's from Matthew chapter 11, verse 25 to 30, which I have chosen as a possible gospel text for the annual Indigenous Peoples Sunday. It suggests thoughts about human dignity. One of the most defining features of man is religion. And this is especially the case with indigenous man, as anthropologists and archaeologists commonly take for granted. If one considers the religion of many indigenous peoples, we may find ourselves with a new esteem for those peoples. Let us take one example, that of the African Nuer, with Evans Pritchard, who lived from 1902 to 1973, as our informant. He's a great anthropologist. According to his research, when asked how things began, or how they came to be what they are, the Nuer answered that God made them, or that it was his will that they have come to be what they are. The heavens and the earth, and the waters on the earth, and the beasts and the birds and reptiles and fish were made by him, by God, and he is the author of custom and tradition, according to the Nuer tribe in Africa. Everything in nature, in culture, in society, and in men is as it is because God made it so. In the Nuer conception of God, he is thus a creative spirit and is a person. Though he is himself ubiquitous and invisible, he sees and hears all that happens, and he can be angry and he can love. As a person, he is the father of men, and in this he is their creator, their protector, and their friend. Though God is sometimes felt to be present here and now, he is also felt to be far away in the sky. However, heaven and earth are not entirely separated. There are comings and goings. God can be communicated with through prayer and sacrifice, and a certain kind of contact with him is maintained through the moral order of society, which he instituted and of which he is the guardian. But in spite of these contacts, the distance between heaven and earth is too great to be bridged. If one views all this from the perspective of revealed religion, one cannot help but be impressed by the natural religion of the Nuer people. Evans Pritchard once wrote that the Nuer attitude was well expressed by the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 21. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Now let us take a highly educated Westerner. Say, the case of Professor Anthony Flew, the son of a Methodist clergyman, who since his youth had rejected revealed religion and embraced atheism. In 1950 he published his short paper, Theology and Falsification, which argued that the idea of God is philosophically meaningless since it cannot be falsified. That is, believers cannot posit an instance that would cause them to deny the existence of God. Genuine assertions, by contrast, can be falsified. Flew, who was 87 at the time of his death, had long argued that people should presuppose atheism until evidence of God surfaces. Well, after a long academic career in philosophy, he suddenly declared in 2004 that, I quote, "the findings of more than 50 years of DNA research have provided materials for a new and enormously powerful argument to design. Biologists' investigation of DNA," he continued, "has shown, by the almost unbelievable complexity of the arrangements which are needed to produce life, that intelligence must have been involved. It's simply not on to think this could occur simply by chance." So, Flew reportedly said, referring to the elegance and complexity of DNA. So then, what did this new intellectual assertion by Flew involve? He believed in a being who structured the world, but has since remained indifferent to it. Flew had arrived at the divine watchmaker imagined by deists like Isaac Newton, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin. In a letter to the Sunday Telegraph of London in 2004, he described, I quote, "the God in whose existence I have belatedly come to believe, as most emphatically not the eternally rewarding and eternally torturing God of either Christianity or Islam, but the God of Aristotle, that he would have defined, had Aristotle actually produced a definition of his and my God, as the first initiating and sustaining cause of the universe." That's how he put it. In 2007, Flew co-authored a book with science religion writer Roy Abraham Varghese entitled "There is a God, How the World's Most Notorious Atheist Changed His Mind." That was the title. Following controversy about the publication, Flew released a statement saying, and I quote, that "it is my book and it represents my thinking." Well, what are we to say of all this? Well, it is good that Flew emerged from the myopia of atheism and that he saw that the world could not be the result of chance. It had to have a designer. But he never got to see that God is a father and judge of all. This is the true foundation of a real natural religion, and in this, the indigenous Nuer people had it all over Flew. Here I am making a very simple point. It is that the indigenous peoples of the world are truly worthy of our respect for their many hidden achievements, and one of them has often been the quality of their natural religion. Not always, but often. In many instances, it outshines the natural religion of the educated, who have rejected revealed religion. But this is not, as a matter of fact, the raison d'etre of what ought be our abiding respect for indigenous peoples. The basis of respect for them is the fact that they, our fellow human beings, are together with each one of us, children of our common Father in heaven, and brothers and sisters of Jesus Christ, our Redeemer and our God, because he shared their humanity. Jesus Christ has assured us that whatever we do to the least of his brothers, he will count as having been done to him. He calls them his brothers. let us be reminded by our celebration today of the indigenous peoples of the world that we are obliged to love and respect them as brothers and sisters of Jesus Christ, who will one day be our judge.